afternoon from Los Angeles, everyone, and welcome to Stock Market Today, sponsored by Interactive Brokers. On today's show, we have a bit of a retail theme. We're going to be taking a look at RH as well as Nike and Crocs. But first, let's take a look at the major indexes. It's Alyssa Corum here, and today I'm joined by Ken Shreve. And Ken, we were able to finish higher across the board after spending a little bit of time in negative territory. The S&P 500 with the strongest gain, up about 0.2%, but the NASDAQ also finishing in the green for the day. What do you make of the move today?
Yeah, I thought it was another constructive session. You know, earlier in the week on Monday and Tuesday, we saw a couple of daunting distribution days for the NASDAQ and the S&P 500, but a nice bounce back for the NASDAQ and S&P 500 on Wednesday, where they gapped up nicely in price. And then today, they basically just traded sideways and held gains, really didn't move much. So I mentioned in the big picture column last night that there is still a lot to like about this market uptrend, and we're finding plenty of stocks to write about and talk about. That's always a good sign when you're in a confirmed uptrend.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And we want to take a look at a few individual movers, starting off with RH, which has been on our radar for a while now, and we did see a nice gap up for the stock on earnings, finishing the day up over 13%. And this was a move on earnings. We saw earnings growth of about 74%. That marked acceleration over the prior quarter, and the company also raised its guidance, and the CEO sounds quite bullish about expansion plans.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a really bullish story in retail. Of course, the retail sector has been a really strong performing sector in the stock market. A bit ironic when people are worried about a recession and slowing economic growth, but just sort of a reminder that the market can be counterintuitive sometimes, but retail stocks continue to do very well. And I'll tell you, Gary Friedman, the CEO here, really deserves a lot of credit. He's just a great, just known for execution, and he's got this company on a good growth trajectory. And again, there's a lot of new going on. I mean, it's a company with a market cap of $3 or $4 billion. He thinks the market cap can get to $20 billion by the time they're done, finished with
their international
their
rollout.
International expansion. So they're close to inking real estate deals in 5 to 7 locations overseas, and so international expansion is a big story here. And,
right. And then in terms of playing the stock here, we do like to look at stocks that move higher on their earnings reports. Now, this one wasn't really moving out of a base here. Right. It's already been on a nice run. Yeah,
this has been a nice winner on leaderboards. We trimmed the position a little bit ahead of earnings because we just wanted to manage risk a little bit, but we're still holding on to a position here. It is definitely extended at this point. So just pointing out a good story in retail. A few weeks back, the stock found support at the 10-week moving average. You can see the red line on the chart here. That was when news broke that Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway took a position. So you had a breakout, and then just a good solid test of the 10-week moving average, and so it's extended now, and it's going to pause at some point and maybe move sideways or pull back a little bit. But it's just a really good story going on in retail right now.
Yes, that's right. And elsewhere in the retail space, we want to check in on Nike, which broke out of a cup with handle base today, gaining over 2%. And Nike is set to issue its next quarterly report in just a couple of weeks here. And it's approaching prior highs with this breakout into buy range.
Yeah, we talked about this stock on IBD Live because Goldman Sachs came out with positive comments early or before the open. I believe added it to its conviction buy list, gave it a buy rating and a, let's see, it was a 112 price target. Right. So here's a daily chart of Nike, and you can see the red line again, the 50-day moving average, and formed a nice little handle area. So pretty clear breakout over a 95.22 buy point today. The stock had given back gains at one point in the session, but it did manage a really strong close here. So this is a good example. Unlike RH, this is a stock that is definitely still in buy range here. The buy point of 95.22, closed at 95.83 thereabouts, so still well within that 5% buy zone.
Right. I guess the question now is, can this develop enough of a cushion heading into earnings for it to be okay to hold through the upcoming earnings report.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, it could be an earnings option trade as earnings approach. But for those that bought today at or near the buy point, you want to hopefully have at least a 3, 4, 5% cushion headed into earnings. That's sometimes enough where you can sit through. Nike's not a stock that moves, 5, 6, 7% in a day. So but we'll see what the earnings look like. But a good solid breakout for Nike today.
Yeah, that's right. And we also want to take a look at Crocs. The ticker there is CROX, extending its gains today up about 2.2%. And we recently saw a pullback and a rebound off of the 10-week line. So we're going to be taking a look at a weekly chart here of Crocs. So would you consider this still to be buyable at this point, Ken?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's perfectly acceptable right now. This is what a bounce with conviction off the 10-week moving average looks like. Sometimes a stock will test support at the 10-week line. Other times it will bounce with conviction, like Crocs is doing this week. So, kind of a similar story to Nike, footwear maker. So you see a theme here, but I would say, this is actionable right now. Good breakout and a good solid first test of the 10-week moving average. Still a pretty good fundamental story going on at Crocs. They had a nice increase in sales the last time they reported earnings. Top line growth up about 20% from a year ago. So the company's still innovating, and this was a stock that was left for dead a little while ago, but it has really kicked back into gear and looks technically very strong right now.
Yeah, that's a good point about the innovation. Really changing, I think, the perception around the old Crocs, and there's so many different footwear models now that they are coming out with sleeker designs, and it looks like that's showing up in the sales growth.
I've got a great pair of Crocs golf shoes that are the best golf shoes I've ever worn. They've lasted a long time and comfortable, and so they do well in golf shoes too.
All right, well, a good anecdotal bit of information for you there on Crocs, and that is it for today. But before we go, we do have a few quick announcements for you. We have a new episode of the Investing with IBD podcast out now. You can head to investors.com/podcast to catch that episode. We have a new one that comes out every Thursday, and IBD Live is here. You really need to check it out. We have every morning for a little over an hour, the first hour of trade. Excellent commentary from our markets team that you definitely don't want to miss, to be a fly on the wall our newsroom every morning, right, Ken?
I think somebody we know is going to be making her debut tomorrow.
Yes, you heard it here first, everyone.
I think her initials may be AC, Alyssa Corum.
All right, yes, you will see me tomorrow morning on IBD Live. So make sure you check that out at investors.com/IBD Live, and you can get a free 2-week trial. So just check it out and let us know what you think.
Get up early, though.
Yes,
6:20 a.m. start.
It's definitely a little early.
Yep. 9:20 a.m. Eastern Time, 6:20 a.m. Pacific.
That's right. We'll see you then, everyone, and also after the close tomorrow. So we'll see you then.